So, I've never heard of this Dr. Birx before. I was not, I did not have access to television, or a process set up to know what to look for. At the time that these events happened that are on the television. Nor should I even be in this situation after all these years, but the first time I took medical microbiology, which is not, it's a certain level, I don't know, for virology or for the CDC level what it's classified as, I'm not sure. But it's not, there's an island, not Shelter Island, but the one near Shelter Island, off of Long Island, that they talk of. Also the color of a fruit. So that, I took it once. I thought everything would be fine. There were updates in Princeton standards for the second time that I took it. I think the second time that I took it, it was right as Benjamin was graduating high school. I went for my updated medical, micro, and advanced Princeton standard at the NCC local establishment of college. The professor, she had her graduate, she had a very extensive and impressive, might I add, for being at a local community college. She had a very extensive and impressive career and teaching leading into that class. So, with that being said, that's the basis for which trying to monitor my own health that I go off of. But this is interesting. Also, this flower is very interesting choice for this particular interview. I had one myself in the Patchogue office out in Suffolk. It could be seen from the the makeshift hallway through the glass. Now, I again don't have graduate or PhD level. I mean, again, I don't know what they do in order to get to that level. I have a very well vetted professor that came to the community college in order to teach me the second time. I'm not sure about the first time I took my medical micro. But it was a very evasive but so informative. And so, with that being said, there's some conversation that former President Trump said to Dr. Birx. But the thing is that there's confidence in cobblestones that need to be strengthened, building an arch with a capstone and an Eckstein back to the family estate and the family way of being. I don't know why between a donkey and an elephant, why the two animals cannot masquerade up, and just focus. There's much bigger things at stake. But now again, this goes back to the social engineered apple cobbler almost on this side, this interior part, going into this with unrest in the American colonies, and the family estate being some whatever. So now Trump comes in and he's industry versed in a very critical area of something else. Dr. Birx is incredibly educated in a different area. But Trump, when he speaks, again, it's logical conclusions almost that if, like, I mean, I don't want to say children to insult him, but it is when you don't know and you're trying to find out, or even a place to begin to start to ask questions like, do I need to know this? Is this important? I mean, again, there's that pathway to success. So I completely understand where he's coming from because, I mean, again, I have medical microbiology base of learned. Might not be as invasive as some others who study bioengineering or some kind of biochemistry, but I have enough of the vocabulary of the local area for where my orientation and position has been since birth to surmise and assess in a health and public safety standard what I am currently experiencing in order to voice, for my son's sake, I have 4 sons, something that may, before I decease, since I feel like I'm going through this health deterioration, what they need to keep an eye out for, since they have not gone through advanced microbiology or even medical microbiology that I'm even aware of. I don't know if they've taken it. But if my son, who took criminal justice as opposed to medical microbiology, if he was standing at the podium as the president of the United States and needed to address somebody about something that just, whatever, you know, I understand that I already know that Benjamin doesn't have the baseline. But my question would then be, why wasn't somebody prepping him more properly and bringing him up to speed? Why were there levels of things kept from him? That doesn't make sense either.
So at the end of April, the 3rd week, in fact, April 23rd, I want to talk about what you describe in your book as the disinfectant debacle. You enter the briefing room at the White House, and I want to replay this for you and then get your thoughts.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
In that clip, Dr. Birx, you can see you wring your hands, you can see your upper body brace, you can see your respiratory rate and effort change, and then you stare at the floor. What was going through your mind?
I just wanted it to be the Twilight Zone and all go away. I mean, I could just see everything unraveling in that moment when I wanted states to use data to open up safely and securely to get everyone back to work and back to school in a very deliberative and data-driven way with the White House leading. And I knew that obviously was going to unravel in that moment because it was so off topic, so sensational, so non-medical, so inappropriate in a pandemic that I'll be honest, I didn't know what to do.
All right, welcome back, everybody. You've been listening, of course, there to a conversation. Dr. Ashton sitting here with me, but she was sitting down with Dr. Birx over the weekend. You tell me that I cannot imagine. She's, of course, the former White House, the coronavirus coordinator, and we were watching her every single day in some of those press briefings,
Right.
which were cringeworthy at times.
Oh, absolutely.
Coronavirus coordinator. I've never even heard of such a thing. Now, is that in a planned attack? Like, that gets confusing. How far in advance did they know that this was going to come out? So, was she representing the donkey or the elephant there? And was perhaps Trump the opposite? Trying to come to one set of explainable feature to avoid certain catastrophe? I don't know, that gets confusing.
Absolutely, and you were watching them, I was watching them, and we were covering them in ABC News special reports. So she has a new book out called Silent Invasion. Really fascinating, not just for a behind-the-scenes look at what we've all went through and what she went through, but how to prepare and learn from mistakes moving forward. But of course, we talked about the disinfectant moment. I said to her, first part of the Hippocratic Oath that she took, that I took, is do no harm. She was the only doctor in the room. Looking back on it, does she regret not literally standing up and getting to the podium? It's unbelievable to fathom doing that to the President of the United States, but she absolutely has some regret. This book is kind of a combination of a mea culpa, what went wrong, how can we learn from our mistakes and do it better. But there were some surprises in there, TJ. She talked about Jared Kushner forwarding her some secret emails so that she would be up to date because she was cut out of a lot of this critical information. She talked about Vice President.
Who was she cut out of the information from?
Being a real ally. And she talked about the scars, and we had kind of a light moment, but it has some secret meaning and messaging. So really, really interesting. I spoke to her for 5 hours, and we'll be covering it tonight on World News and Nightline.
And the book is Silent Invasion, is actually on sale tomorrow, but you do have a prescription for wellness.
I do, and it's about trying to safeguard our mental health down the road, how we can eat. You've heard me say before, food as medicine. So kind of 3 things that we can all do in terms of our food and our diet to help reduce our risk of dementia down the road. Number 1, Mediterranean diet and the so-called MIND diet, really, really important.
Yeah, this is interesting, and I'm not going to listen to the rest of her speak because now she's on some political soapbox, whether she knows it or not. It says Mediterranean diet, mind diet. Mind being spelled M-I-N-D, not M-E-I-N, just so we're crystal clear. For people who perhaps don't like Mediterranean, they perhaps prefer Latin. I've heard people, some like one, some like the other. Again, I've only heard of a Mediterranean diet being mostly fish and certain types of cold salads. Again, I don't really have chef or kitchen necessarily. I'm not in like the in vogue, like the trendy, the cosmopolitan. I'm more like Cosmos, and been somehow astroplaned into looking somewhat homeless, but I guess it fits for the Econo Lodge. I don't really get how we got here, but here we are. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. Perhaps if Eric Adams and his fuselage hadn't spent 11 trillion of I don't know whose dollars, perhaps my life could have had a different pierre de résistance, perhaps. It's April 25th, 2022. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxies broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Now, I don't know anything about this France election. They said something about Macron, they said something about Le Pen, and for some reason, I don't know if they swapped campaign identities, but I heard Macron say Vive la France. And based on the very little sliver of what they threw out there, I thought that that was a Le Pen thing. Je ne sais pas, non so. From this part of New York and the Big Apple and the Empire State, it's not clear for me in my one position of nothingness. It's hard to carpe diem when it's so c'est la vie. And it feels like novi at the minute instead of solvi, but I see now that on the license plates, they've transitioned from Empire State to Excelsior, Cior. Viens voir. Sta bene or non ci bene per lei? Non so. I don't even know how these things go into effect.